Thank you for staying with us on TVC Breakfast. I have with me here The Nation, and the big story here says 6 NNPCL officials aboard chopper that crashed into ocean. 3 bodies recovered. NAAPE mourns pilots. President orders military to join rescue team. Get me bandits boss. TG Defense Minister orders troops. Governors on ranching says it is best to end head of farmer crisis. In Enugu, the state okays 80,000 naira minimum wage. VP Shetima's more trip aborted. 37 Lagos LCDAs to stay. The major stories on the front page of The Nation to the Salient Times. 3 bodies recovered, 5 missing as helicopter crashes in Port Harcourt. NNPCL confirms 8 personnel on board in helicopter crash. Pilots of crash helicopter are Vice President, NAPA says. And NAMA is also responding to how they activated rescue coordination activities. The Governors Forum is saying PDP will not allow a one-party state. Another story here says senators divided over funding for Development Commission. Tinubu directs ministers, heads of agencies to reduce vehicles in convoy. Police arrest Alfa for allegedly defiling 12-year-old girl in Ogun State. Sad one there. These are the major stories on the front page of the Salient Times. To Daily Independent. On the Port Harcourt crash, how we lost contact with helicopter we engaged by NNPCL Limited. 8 persons on board killed as the NSIB investigates incident. Reps urged the CBN to gradually phase out old Naira notes. Tinubu to overhaul livestock sector. Cut $1.5 billion annual import bill. The governors pledged 100% buy-in, one against open grazing. Jega says reforms easing headers farmers' conflicts. Governor Dodo drills boreholes at IDP camps, provide relief materials to tackle flooding. The major stories on the front page of Daily Independent to Nigeria News Direct on the cost of governance. Tinubu slashes ministers, heads of agencies, convoy to 3 vehicles, gives nod to attachment of 5 security personnel to each minister, directs NSA to coordinate immediate reaction or reduction rather of ministers' vehicles. We will not repeat mistakes of the past to neglect livestock farming, Tinubu says. Rep Speaker wife donate 140 million naira to Jigawa victims of explosion. Some stories on the front page of Nigeria News Direct. To the Daily Trust. Tinubu limits ministers' convoys to 3 vehicles. Lead by example, CSO tells the president, governors. World Bank offers 4-point plan to reduce government spending. No deadline on circulation of old Naira notes, CBN says. Passengers entitled to 10,000 Naira, $170 for delayed luggage. That's according to the NTAA. And another story here says federal government flags off construction of Sokoto-Badagry superhighway. That's it on Daily Trust. To this, Nigeria, stop moving in long convoys. Tinubu orders ministers, reduces official vehicles in convoy to 3 for ministers, downsizes security. Presidency says directive part of cost-saving measures. Mixed reaction over policy. Nigeria spends $1.5 billion to import dairy food. President laments. And senators split over source of funding for Zonal Development Commission. Let's go to Daily News Hub. Why Tinubu fired ministers? The presidency is responding to some claims. Says Nigerians determine fate of sacked ministers. Fired ministers failed people's assessment. President scales down ministers' convoy security guard. And IPOP founder commanders in our custody, military says. On the punch, cabinet reshuffle, presidency defense Tinubu as federal government slashes ministers' vehicle aids. Federal government defers as clerks orders alleged lopsidedness. Tinubu seeks Senate confirmation. And that's the major story on the front page of the Punch. To you, Theophilus.
All right, Voice of Liberty says here, we hired helicopter that crashed, says NNPCL. Ministerial shakeup, Northern broadcast media owners extol Tinubu for retaining Idris. Tinubu restricts ministers' official vehicles to 3, downsizes security guards. Nigeria amongst worst governed countries in Africa, says Mo Ibrahim reports. The blueprint says, ahead Senate screening, Nigerians set agenda for new ministers, want cost of living reduced. APC women leader talks Imam on gender-based violence. Jide Ojo identifies gender gaps, says youth PLWDs deserve mention. Mixed reactions greets Yilwada choice for humanitarian affairs. Troops smoke out 140 terrorists, arrest 135, nab 2 IPOB leaders. The Daily Times says, yes, senators split over funding for Zonal Development Commission as lawmakers reject immunity for commission's chief executives. The Guardian says, call for military intervention, misery, harsh policies driving Nigerians to desperate choices. Federal government begins reform of obsolete laws. Nigeria records 83 poliovirus type 2 cases. Helicopter crash. NSIB begins probe as search continues for missing passengers. The Hope says, Ondo Guba race, protect ongoing progress with your votes. Ayedatiwa appeals as governor takes campaign to Akoko Southeast. This election is defining moment, he remarks. Education Commissioner talks principles on work ethics. INEC holds mock accreditation for Ondo election November 6th. The New Telegraph says, no deadline on circulation of old Naira notes, says CBN. No deadline on circulation of old Naira notes, says CBN. Cost of governance, Tinubu orders cuts in ministers, others convoy security personnel. And finally, from my end, First News says here, disturbing fact. National grid crashes 162 times in just 11 years. NERC hosts public hearing to address persistent nationwide blackouts. Cost-cutting drive. Tinubu imposes convoy restrictions, limits ministers to free vehicles.
Thank you, Theophilus. I'm sure our viewers have been informed on the major stories trending on the front pages of the newspapers. For the stories that interest you, you can get a copy of the dailies